Today is August 20th. Welcome to Big Book Daily. My name is Rob. I am an alcoholic. It is a thrill, honor, and joy to be here with you today as we journey through the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous and the 12 Steps and 12 Traditions. Today out of the Big Book, we're going to continue our journey through Chapter 3, more about alcoholism. We're going to read page 40. Out of the 12 and 12, we're going to continue Step 6 by reading page 66. And we will be reading today's daily reflection and 24 hours a day. So with that, I hope you all are doing well this morning. Once again, we've been given a brand new set of 24 hours. Clean slate. An opportunity to just live the best life that we can. And I read something very, very powerful this morning in a different book. And I'll just read one line from it. Or maybe two. It says here, the best way that we can say, I love you, God, is to live your life doing your best. The best way to say thank you, God, is by letting go of the past and living in the present moment, right here and right now. It's a beautiful book called The Four Agreements, and I've read it for the first time in the summer, and I'm already going through it again. It's just wonderful. But anyway, speaking of great stuff, let's go ahead and get to today's literature. All right, so if you recall from yesterday's reading, we learned about a man named Fred, and, he was pretty successful except for his drinking problem. But he figured that self-knowledge would fix everything. Once he learned more about himself, that should be enough to, stop his drinking. Let's see what happens to old Fred. Page 40. We heard no more of Fred for a while. One day we were told that he was back in the hospital. This time he was quite shaky. He soon indicated that he was anxious to see us. The story he told us is most instructive, for here was a chap absolutely convinced that he had to stop drinking, who had no excuse for drinking, who exhibited splendid judgment and determination in all of his other concerns, yet was flat on his back nevertheless. Let him tell you about it. I was much impressed with what you fellows said about alcoholism, and I frankly did not believe that it would be possible for me to drink again. I rather appreciated your ideas about the subtle insanity which precedes the first drink. But I was confident that it couldn't happen to me after what I learned. I reasoned that I was not so far advanced as most of you fellows, that I'd been usually successful in licking my other personal problems, and that I would therefore be successful where you men failed. I felt that I had every right to be self-confident. That it would only be a matter of exercising my willpower and keeping on guard. In this frame of mind, I went about my business, and for a time all was well. I had no trouble refusing drinks, and began to wonder if I had not been making too hard a work of a simple matter. One day I went to Washington to present some accounting evidence to a government bureau. I'd been out of town before during this particular dry spell, so there was nothing new about that. Physically, I felt fine. Neither did I have any pressing problems or worries. My business came off well. I was pleased and knew that my partners would be too. It was the end of a perfect day. Not a cloud on the horizon. I guess you can see where this might be going. Moving on to the 12 and 12, we're on step 6. We're entirely ready to have God remove all these defects of character. Page 66. Some who feel that they have done well may dispute this. So let's try to think it through a little further. Practically everybody wishes to be rid of his most glaring and destructive handicaps. No one wants to be so proud that he is scorned as a braggart, nor so greedy that he is labeled as a thief. No one wants to be angry enough to murder, lustful enough to rape, gluttonous enough to ruin his health. No one wants to be agonized by the chronic pain of envy, or to be paralyzed by sloth. Of course, most human beings don't suffer these defects at these rock-bottom levels. We who have escaped these extremes are apt to congratulate ourselves. Yet can we? After all, hasn't it been self-interest, pure and simple, that has enabled most of us to escape? Not much spiritual effort is involved in avoiding excesses which will bring us punishment anyway. But when we face up to less violent aspects of these very same defects, then where do we stand? What we must recognize now is that we exult in some of our defects. We really love them. Who, for example, doesn't like to feel just a little superior to the next fellow? Or even quite a lot superior? Isn't it true that we like to let greed masquerade as ambition? To think of liking lust seems impossible. But how many men and women speak love with their lips and believe what they say, so that they can hide lust in a dark corner of their minds? And even while staying within conventional bounds, many people have to admit that their imaginary sex excursions are apt to be all dressed up as dreams of romance. Daily Reflection, August 20th. Toward Emotional Freedom. Since defective relations with other human beings have nearly always been the immediate cause of our woes, including our alcoholism, no field of investigation could yield more satisfying and valuable rewards than this one. 12 Steps and 12 Traditions, page 80. Willingness is a peculiar thing for me in that, over a period of time, it seems to come, first with awareness, and then with a feeling of discomfort, making me want to take some action. As I reflected on taking the 8th step, my willingness to make amends to others came as a desire for forgiveness of others and myself. I felt forgiveness toward others after I became aware of my part in the difficulties of relationships. I wanted to feel the peace and serenity described in the promises. From working the first 7 steps, I became aware of whom I had harmed, and that I had been my own worst enemy. In order to restore my relationships with my fellow human beings, I knew that I'd have to change. I wanted to learn to live in harmony with myself and others so that I could live in emotional freedom. The beginning of the end to my isolation from my fellows and from God came when I first wrote my 8th step list. 24 hours a day, August 20th. AA Thought for the Day. When many hundreds of people are able to say that the consciousness of the presence of God is today the most important factor of their lives, they present a powerful reason why one should have faith. When we saw others solve their problems by a simple reliance upon the Spirit of the universe, we have to stop doubting the power of God. Our ideas did not work, but the God idea did. Deep down in every man, woman, and child is the fundamental idea of God. Faith in a power greater than ourselves and miraculous demonstrations of that power in our lives are facts as old as the human race. Am I willing to rely on the Spirit of the universe? Meditation for the day. You should not dwell too much on the mistakes, faults, and failures of the past. Be done with shame and remorse and contempt for yourself. With God's help, develop a new respect. Unless you respect yourself, others will not respect you. You ran a race. You stumbled and you fell. But you've risen again, and now you press on toward the goal of a better life. Do not stay to examine the spot where you fell. Only feel sorry for the delay, the short-sightedness that prevented you from seeing the real goal sooner. Prayer for the day. I pray that I may not look back. I pray that I may keep picking myself up and making a fresh start each day. Oh man. So I actually hadn't read the 24 hours a day until we read it for the podcast, and it is very, very similar to what I was reading in the 4 Agreements, what I just shared right before we recorded, or right before we started the reading. I'm just blown away. I love the meditation for the day here. You should not dwell too much on the mistakes, faults, and failures of the past. Be done with the shame and remorse and contempt for yourself. with God's help, develop a new self-respect. Now, I've said it many times, I would play my resentment machine, and it was usually a self-resentment machine. I'd replay the stuff I'd done in the past, and it's like that snowball on the top of a hill. The more and more I replay it and that snowball goes down the hill, the bigger it becomes. And the more the self-hatred grew, until it blocked out everything in the present moment. Even though it was something I couldn't change. I can't change what I did before. So that's a problem for a lot of reasons. One, I found out through the literature that we've actually read pretty recently, that with self-hatred, I'm disrespecting God because I'm God's child. Who am I to disrespect one of God's children? Two, I'm consumed in self, and therefore I'm not thinking about helping anybody. And three, I'm still alive today, so I must be here for a reason. And it's to live the best life that He's given me. And for me, living the best life that He's given me is trying my best, is to try my best to love and serve others. But I can't even start on that until I forgive myself. So I love this. In a way, we all are running a race. I don't know much, but I do know we're not going to be here on this earth for very long. Life is short, and I've been around long enough to know. I'm approaching that middle age mark, and I still feel like a kid in a lot of ways. In a good way now, thankfully, but we don't have a lot of time. It is kind of like a race. But for me, it's a race that's run one day at a time, one moment at a time. And when we stumble, when we fall in this race, we don't get up and go, oh, I can't believe I did that. And just stand around idle. Can't believe I did that. Even we maybe walk backwards to the spot where you tripped and fell. No, there's no time for that, Rob. No time for that. Keep going. Just keep trying to serve and help others. Forgive myself. Honor the God of my understanding by living the best life I can today. Once again, going back to good old Apollo Creed, there is no tomorrow. Forget about tomorrow right now. Tomorrow has worries all in itself. What can I do to help others today? How can I love myself even more today? It's a grind, but it's a good grind. It's in the reps, but they're good reps. And when you fall in love with the process of doing these reps, man, that's when the best results follow. Because we're not expecting anything in return. Yet somehow, ironically, paradoxically, whatever you want to call it, we gain so much. Man, this one really hit me hard today. Great stuff. So my friends, I've rambled on enough. I hope you all have a blessed day. And trust me when I say that if you are sober today, you're a miracle. And if you're not sober, but you are alive and you're listening to this show, you need to understand that you're a miracle as well. Because you're alive and you have the opportunity for hope. You have the opportunity today to change, to make that courageous first step toward a new life. You don't have to do it alone. The very first word in the steps is we. So get the support you need. You're a miracle. Before giving another set of 24 hours, my friends, I sincerely look forward to seeing you right back here tomorrow.